Greetings adventurers, my name is Kramer, and today we are talking about the new invented haversack, although it's not really new by our standards. Commissioned by the colonial army during the American Revolution in 1778, this bag may look like just another messenger bag, but the way they designed it was to try to combine the versatility of a haversack and a knapsack into one item. And that versatility is the reason that this is the bag that I reach for anytime I am going on a trip that is longer than a day. So you might be asking yourself, what is the difference between a haversack and a knapsack in the first place? Now, depending on where you are in the world, you might actually call a haversack something different than what I call a haversack. But generally speaking, a haversack and messenger bag are roughly the same thing. There is one strap that goes over one shoulder and it is worn generally on the side of your body, though there are other more convenient ways to carry this if it gets heavier. And historically speaking, the haversack got its name from the haver cake, which was a traveling cake made of oats. It was also a bag used for carrying oats if you were going to be feeding your horse, so then it became the haversack. The knapsack is actually just a small backpack used for traveling for about 1 to 2 days and generally for carrying gear, whereas the haversack was generally for carrying food. A haversack could have looked something like this, which I have also seen called a needs wallet, and it is for carrying your provisions, the things that you will eat while you were on your journey. And to me, they kind of look a little bit like a smaller version of a saddlebag, and you would fold them over the center line, and that is what would keep everything inside of those pockets. And so the new invented haversack, right, has the ability to do all of those things. It can carry your camp goods in the main pocket, the pocket that you would expect something like a messenger bag to have, and it also has pockets built into the flap as well, which very much resemble a needs wallet or what might be a traditional haversack. And one of the things that I really like about this is the fact that these buckles here, these straps, are designed to be so long that it allows you to carry something like this blanket or a folded cloak in a very convenient way. A rolled up blanket or a rolled up cloak takes up a huge amount of volume. It takes up a big amount of space, but having the ability to carry it just folded into the new invented haversack is a very, very convenient way of getting that extra little bit of gear in there without having to take up that precious carrying space. So what are some of the things that would make you choose a period correct new invented haversack over something like this? This is just a messenger bag that you can get at Target, and they look relatively similar aside from the fact that this one was made by a machine and this one was made by hand by a friend of the channel. Thank you, Jennifer. So one of the major noticeable differences here is that with the more modern version of a messenger bag, and this can work if you don't want to have to make this or find someone that can make it for you. The flap on this, it has no extra pockets on it, but it also just folds over the top of the interior of the bag. Whereas this flap is actually the entire length of the bag itself. So it's not just a flap, the whole thing folds directly in half, whereas this one, it's just to cover that opening. The other thing here is that with a new invented haversack, you should have an adjustable belt buckle. It should be able to come apart, and that is so, well, one, you can adjust it because there are lots of different ways that you could wear this to make it more comfortable depending on the weight, but it's also helpful because it means that you can put on extra bits of gear onto this strap and use it a little bit like a bandolier. One of the things that I plan on doing is putting my axe ring on this so I can carry my axe directly on the haversack rather than trying to fit it somewhere on my belt kit. You might be able to find a more modern option that has that adjustability. This one has an adjustable length, but the strap doesn't actually come off, so you can't use it as a bandolier. Just a problem with the modern make of things, these straps actually, the buckles do function, but they actually have little magnets that stick right on, so you can't use it the same way that you would use something like this. And I'll show you what I mean. So if I were to flip this like that, and I'm going to go ahead and unbuckle each one of these, you can see how long these straps are. And I'll just illustrate how much room you would have to stuff something in there, and then it would be supported by those buckles. So it's not really a pouch, but it is held there, and that's how this cloak is held in. And the whole thing just unfolds like this, and you can take out whatever's in the center there, and you are left with these two halves. There's the main bag part of it here. This is the knapsack part that you would be using to keep all of your camping gear, extra socks, stuff that you would need to access quickly. And then this side over here is the really interesting part. This is the side that mimics what a needs wallet or a haversack would be. It's important to note that even though this bag was technically created or commissioned or invented in the 18th century in colonial America, that a shoulder bag like this is likely more historically accurate than a backpack actually is. Backpacks, the way we understand them in the modern day, are not anywhere close to being medieval. Now, I generally believe that when we're talking about a fantasy adventure, it's not actually strictly medieval, so that's okay. I like backpacks, they have their uses, but this definitely provides some added bonuses that a backpack just doesn't have. That being said, you can wear both at the same time. So this little guy right here is probably a little small for like a couple days worth of hiking. But if you wanted something to just sort of go around for a day or so with, this one is the one that I go to. This is from Bergschneider. You can pick this up with the link in the description. Use code LA10 for 10% off. But a bag like this is also much easier to wear with a cloak, because the two straps of a backpack are going to mean that the cloak either has to sit all the way behind you, or you're not gonna have room for the straps to go under your armpits, whereas this one just sits very comfortably on top, or it can even go very comfortably underneath right there. And something like this really shouldn't be that hard to make yourself. You can probably figure out exactly how it's made just by watching the footage in this video. So looking at the internals here, we can see that the top half actually has the entire thing as a pocket with a slit here in the center. That is where you can put various items. Probably it would have been used for food back in the day. And then it ties up nice and neat and then folds all the way over the entire length of the bag. Being able to put stuff right in the center there is one of my favorite things about this bag. And we can see that when made properly, the straps here are actually reinforced on the inside of the linen, whereas some of the more modern, cheaply made stuff, it's just leather pleather usually that's just been stitched directly to the fabric. That's not gonna hold a lot of weight. This is leather stitched to leather, with the linen actually just being a layer on the inside. So it's leather stitched to leather, and that makes it much more durable. So why would you want to use a haversack like this instead of a backpack or a knapsack or something like that? And well, the answer is, it's not, you don't have to pick one. That's why I like this so much. It gives me extra carrying capacity, and you can still wear something on your back with it. And if you're just going on a little day trip and you don't want to be using a backpack, this is the perfect thing to bring, because it can bring your camping gear and it can fit all of your food separately, plus bringing an extra blanket, which you're not going to have room for. You're not going to have room to carry that cloak in something like this unless it ties onto the bottom. There are ways that you can do it, but this I find much more convenient. And of course, a pack like this can integrate perfectly with a quiver, with a back quiver, because there's nothing else taking up that real estate on your back. This is just a strap that goes over your shoulder, and it's very, very comfortable. And a pack like this also works perfectly with the philosophy that a lot of modern militaries use, and that I am transferring over to the idea of a fantasy medieval adventure, which is that you have your trekking kit, you have your camping kit, and then you have like your immediate combat kit. And those three layers go from biggest to smallest, and they're supposed to come off as the situation gets more dire. So if I were to be just going on a huge trek, I would have this, and then I would have another backpack on my back. And that's exactly what I did this past weekend. This coat actually still smells like the campfire smoke, so I'm letting it air out a little bit. And then this is more the day pack. This is if you are going on a very short journey, you're just going to collect some firewood, you may be out for a couple of hours and you just want to bring some extra food and some extra provisions. That is where that is. And then you have your combat kit somewhere on your belt like that. And I find that being able to distribute the carrying weight, where, right, if you were to have one rucksack or one large backpack all of that weight's back there, and that's not too bad, but being able to distribute some of that into a shoulder bag and then wear it on your side or maybe slightly behind you, it's a nice way to help distribute that weight a little bit more evenly. I cannot overstate how convenient it is to be able to carry something this bulky, whether it's a gambeson or a cloak or a blanket or a completely new set of clothes. I can't overstate how convenient it is to be able to just buckle it right in there and have it sit without having to take up any space inside of your actual carrying cases. Look at how much excess I have on these belt straps here. I could fit so much more stuff in between these two layers here. The only real problem would be how much weight can the whole thing actually carry. But this is the reason I go for this pack every single time I go on a camping trip, because of its ability to carry all that extra stuff at pretty much zero cost to me. So that's gonna do it for this video. I will see you very, very soon. And in the meantime, I'd like to wish you good luck on your adventures.